It
This looks
sounds
super
like
posh.
this is what we talked about.
Yeah, no, if you vehemently disagree with anything, just let me know and I'll overrule you
Local
because you'll be wrong. Oh
install
no,
and
oh, wait.
not centrally hosted. Data concerns around storing client GSC GA4 data. Single agency user.
We said for the we want to do a local install, so basically do a repo and you just git clone the repo to your local machine and then run it there. Because if we have this for everybody, we have this running as a software as a service app. Maybe the downside to that is then everybody gives us OAuth tokens to access their client's data. Maybe not. Maybe some people aren't comfortable with that. So we
Can
can
we,
still build an app, but
yeah. What do you think of offering OAuth 2 that we trash the credentials at the end of the session?
that could work too.
And is there a way to make it transparent for the users so that they can have faith that we're throwing away their credentials? I don't know how to do that.
That's
Because
hard. I don't know how to do that. Yeah. My
because
assumption
it
is we just like secretly store the credentials and get access to everything and take over the world. But
well,
no, that's not the idea.
you mean like free access to search volume data?
Well, I guess it's not really search volume data. It's kind of crappy impression data, but yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Um, I don't mind. So we could certainly make it like an app that runs on the internet and people can use publicly.
yeah.
And then we just like I mean I think it's easy to take away some of the data privacy concerns and trash the tokens because it is open source.
Yeah.
Like so we just it's a public repo so everybody can see how it works.
Yeah. 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 So do we want to give it a fun name? Spiky?
Spikey's good.
Spiker? S- No. Well, it's all about spikes, right? Change, traffic drop. I don't know. Because the reason I'm asking about a fun name is then it becomes a subdomain on the site. So it's an installed app on a subdomain. And then people can also, and like basically we're building it as a container kind of thing. And it could live, be its own thing, or it could just be a route in the app. I don't really care. But when I say route in the app, I mean route in the brain. Um, but it could certainly be containerized and put on a subdomain. I don't really care. Um,
Okay,
I guess that could
those
be,
all sound like good options.
yeah, it could be, that's not really that important. It could be solved down the road. Local install only. Do we like, do we like, do we like the idea of OAuth 2 and trash credentials at the end as a group? Just make a decision around that. Okay, cool. And then single agency user managing multiple clients, starting with one Google account. So user OAuths into the app.
Yep,
They can then select a site from a drop down,
yep.
and then they're
Select a property.
presented they're presented with a time series chart of their data. And the reason you'd want to see that is that just shows you where change happens potentially.
Hmm.
Um, And then we've got anomaly logic, which is all smart sounding stuff, data sciencey stuff. Alerts are reactive first.
Oh,
Oh,
did you
so
see
this is different. This is like an app versus just ad hoc analysis.
where did? Oh no, that's not right. I should probably have a link to it, but
That one right
oh
there.
yeah, this, and then the yeah. So this thing. So look, anomaly detection. So I figured we could actually just go to uh, this. So I'm just going to copy that, um, and we could just say to Claude, "Hey, we'd like to use anomaly detection. Can you have a look at this code?" and then borrow it. I don't know the correct technical term for fork it. Maybe is the right word. I was going to say steal it, but that's probably inappropriate.
Probably inappropriate. That's true.
Glean insights.
Yeah, we will be. But yeah, so we will copy some of his code.
Okay.
Or as we call it nowadays, rewrite it in Python and then Rust, and then it'll be ours.
So this thing is, when I see the alerts, to me, that's an application that has crons that runs. I was thinking that we were building something that was more of an
yeah, actually, it's not that. It says reactive first.
Yeah.
So we do kind of proactive schedule monitoring as V2 because it requires the server running 24/7. So we're actually saying we're not going to do that yet.
Okay. Got it. So it's just an ad hoc for V1.
Yeah. So you can go in there if you think, oh, something anomalous has happened. I want to go and find anomaly, which, by the way, I think anomaly would be a great name for the app, or anomalous, because then you can like,
Anomalous.
I'm going to go and
Anomalous.
I'm going to go and find anomaly or anomalous. But anyway,
a single anomalous.
I have this
I
kind
love
of nom kind of feel to it. It feels like
what do you think of
also,
anomalous?
you also have
I love it.
like US.us is a TLD, right?
Yeah.
So we're not going to.
So branded queries, yes, we can come up. Claude will have no problem building a branded query, whatever algorithm. Vector embeddings, that's totally doable. We can embed all of the search terms and it'll group them. Like that's totally doable. It's not like quote unquote a 100% solved problem, but it is pretty damn close to it. Reporting, charts, tables, and diagnosis flags exported to Google Sheets for V1. I think we should add a CSV into V1 as well because it's basically super simple.
Yeah.
Build a web app, not just command line, something like a Radiant style dashboard. I'm not familiar with what a Radiant style dashboard is, but like I agree that it should be a web app, and I don't really have strong feelings about I think it'll be really easy. Like this, I think we could finish this today.
Yeah.
Like it'll
my
just
God.
royal we, right?
Let's do it. What do we do? Oh my
Yeah.
God. I'm so excited.
Okay, Robin, do you want to be the prompter and show us how you would build it?
I think the important thing though is if the scope includes the naming, I think we have no hope of finishing it today. But if it doesn't include the naming,
We're gonna.
I think it's
it
seems
think we
reasonable.
just build the thing and we name it whatever the app we want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
that
we can
sounds-
start with one. If someone has a better one, come and challenge.
Wait. So
Come at me.
I'm big on challengers. You're seated until you're challenged.
Die. Okay. Where do we want to go? So yeah, let's just do that for now. And then we changed our mind about a couple of things. We do want to make this an app that people can log into using OAuth to get search console credentials, but then we're going to trash the token at the end. No, what else did we change our mind on?
The CSV export, I think, was a part of it.
Cool. We'd like a CSV export before we do the Google Sheet, because that seems simpler in V1. Anything else?
The OAuth.
He's got that.
Got that. Did I miss anything?
We can add it as we go if we miss anything.
Okay.
Ooh, I'm interested to see. I haven't built anything like this with DuckDB or Next.js, so I'm pretty excited about this.
Cool. Does everybody know why you might use DuckDB rather than, say, SQLite?
I'd love to hear that.
So, see if I can explain this correctly. So SQLite is your bog standard database, but it's kind of fast and small.
Wait,
and
hit enter. Robin, hit enter. So it'll keep going. Sorry. Humbly apologize.
SQLite is kind of bog standard database. So it handles reads and writes very well. It's got a small footprint, and it's good for running locally. DuckDB is primarily used for OLAP. So I completely forgot what OLAP actually stands for. So maybe somebody can ask a local friendly LLM to explain it. But the basic thing is that when you're doing OLAP, you don't want to do lots of writes, but you want to do lots of big reads, and you might have a lot of data. So think of a kind of data warehouse or a data lake, and you've got a lot of kind of reads going on, but then you're not going to update that very much. And DuckDB just works with data on disk, so you can just add some CSV files or other kind of or JSON files, just have them on S3 or on some other kind of storage. And DuckDB works in a similar way to BigQuery. That one of the big innovations that BigQuery had is that it's in a traditional database, the thing that does the querying, it builds what's called a query plan from your structured query language or SQL, and the query plan is executed wherever the data actually is. So in order to get that to work, you have to import the data or ingest the data into your database. The big innovation that BigQuery had is that it's able to bring the query plan and the query executor to wherever the data is and run it there. That means you don't need to bring the data to you, which can take a lot of time or cost a lot of money. You can bring the executor to the data. And that's why, for instance, you can use public data on BigQuery, and you don't need to pull that into your local information store. You can just execute that, and Google kind of handles all the details. Under the hood, what it's doing is turning those big files into something, a format called I don't know how to pronounce it, Parquet. I've only ever read about it. And Parquet basically builds lots of columns, sometimes called a columnar format, which allows it to kind of mix and match between these CSV files in a very efficient way. The DuckDB is really good for if you want very fast SQL execution on what could be very large data for very cheap, and it's open source. And so you could think about it. Noah, maybe you remember I made some kind of stealthy comments about, why don't we just build a kind of an alternative to BigQuery, and we'll make it cheap and fast and free. So I was referencing DuckDB there. So you can leverage DuckDB to do lots of those kind of things. BigQuery is amazing, but at some point, if your queries get big enough, they suddenly start costing an awful lot of money. Whilst DuckDB doesn't. It isn't completely magical. Like, you can't just throw in petabytes of data and it all just works. It will slow down or die, and there will be lots of complications eventually. But for lots of our use cases, I think it's super useful.
I thought
so
it had
that's
like
why.
Does it have like a 2 gigabyte size limit based on browser limitations? Like, I thought there was some kind of weird limit like that.
In DuckDB?
Yeah.
Not that I know of, but
Oh.
it sounds like you're tremendously well informed by.
No, I'm not. I'm not at all.
LLM
Like, I
frames.
just thought it was limited by the size of stuff that you could pull into a Chrome browser session or something like that.
I don't think so.
Okay, cool.
Before we get started, are there any hard limits to the size of the DuckDB data we can give it? Wow, that was badly phrased.
I really struggle with sounding useful to whisper when I'm talking to Claude. I'm always like, I have to look away and close my eyes and go like this when I'm doing my whisper stuff to Claude. Have you found it equally difficult to talk to like say something clearly, even though you know what you want to say before you hit the whisper button? Like it's super weird. I don't understand why I struggle with it.
I find it much easier to talk to Claude than I do to talk to people.
Yeah, so there's that. But
And mostly when I'm talking to people, I don't have a teleprompter, so I can never look them in the eyes when I'm talking. Whilst with Claude, it's super easy.
Have you looked at Almond versus Whisper, which is on like your local machine versus sending it out?
I looked at Monologue, which is built by Every, and they also use a local model. And I think there are some superb local models for doing speech to text. There was a new one came out yesterday.
wow.
But I haven't, I found Monologue, I had so many issues so many times, and I went back to Whisperflow, and it was just like instant brilliantly. So I was just like, okay, can't be asked. But then, yes, I think there are lots of good local alternatives to using.
Yeah, I just switched
models.
to Almond on my new Mac because I'm like, why do I want to send this to the cloud if I don't really have to, and have them do with what they're doing it?
Cool. Apparently, database file size goes up to 15 terabytes and can go above that. So that probably will be enough for us. Okay.
Like, is there a chance that, like, in theory, for a software or technology like Supabase, that could take all of this end to end?
Yeah. I definitely think you could use that Supabase instead, and I think that would be a great choice. I
like DuckDB because it's free. Like, why would we pay for something for an app that we're giving someone to use for free?
They have free plans as well, but I'm saying, like, what's the full stack extensibility versus having a constraint of the platform, right? There could be the functionality you need, but is it fully extensible? It may not be. That's just one.
I think it's I like SQL, and I think because Claude speaks SQL very, very well, and I like big extensible databases, and so I think for unless it was all unstructured data, where maybe SQL isn't the best kind of format, and you want something else altogether, I think it's pretty good. And then in terms of extensibility, I think, at least for me, the fun thing about Claude Code or Codex is, I mean, even if I want to swap out the database at some point, it's not, I mean, this thing is, I think it's going to take a quarter of an hour to build end to end, right? So we could just build it all from scratch if we felt like we needed to. I think it's kind of a different world than it was 9 months ago. Let's just do, can you sketch out and design for the requirements we have, and keep it brief and refer to the research that you've done. So the design is kind of the first bit where the researcher looks at the requirements and looks at what's there already, if it is. And then the design is kind of pulling it together and working out at a high level, how is this thing going to work? And then the actual implementation plan is a little bit further and a bit more detailed. If you're doing a really big project, I think it's useful to do an outline of the implementation plan. So a way of thinking about it is, if you make your spec work, the specification or the plan, if you make that detailed enough, then everything will be perfect at the end. It will all just work. But if you actually want to review the spec, and it's detailed enough, that's almost like reviewing code, basically. So it can be useful to do a higher level outline. I think for a project this small, then the design and the outline will probably kind of merge together a little bit. But just a kind of a bit of a high level so we can read it through quickly and think, wow, does that actually match up to how we were thinking it was going to work? If you have absolutely no idea of how it's going to work, no worries. I think Claude is going to handle that anyway. But this just allows us to get a quick skim through and make sure, kind of kick the tires and make sure it all makes sense. Often, rather than doing that all myself, I'll read through and I'll just talk out loud to Claude and say, this looks strange. Why do you do that? Or are you sure about this? Or is that really going to work? And then Claude will come back and, no, I'm so glad you questioned that. You're an idiot, and I know what I'm doing. Leave me to it, or something, right? So just 1 second. Got all kinds of funny things open on my machine that probably shouldn't be. Oh, yes. Wow, just an infinite array of complete crap. Okay, so
Are you still sharing your screen?
I stopped sharing my screen so I could go off and kind of clean up my computer a bit. Okay.
Oh wow! So it does a nice little preview with the mermaid.
So Z is a quite nice text editor that I started using a lot after I started doing kind of AI coding. This is just in Markdown, but if you do Apple Shift V, then it will kind of mark up your Markdown. Apple Shift V actually works in lots of places. So probably if you have a text editor, you may be surprised if you do Apple Shift V on a Markdown file, it will probably give you a preview like this.
Awesome.
And
Well,
it's kind of.
Can you blow your screen up at all? Is that a possibility to make it bigger for me at home?
I mean, like hit it with a hammer, or like blow it up in a more figurative way.
That'd be awesome if it's doable.
Yeah. Oh wow, that is some $10 language there. Okay, so server UI, OAuth, XAuth, API routes, React UI, Chart.js. Okay. DuckDB. What is a sidecar? What do you mean by sidecar? Research shows that transformers can run E5 small. So E5 small is with the I think the embeddings that we looked at, but we need Python anyway for page clustering. Yep. Leiden, by the way, is the place where I live, so that's clearly why it's chosen that algorithm. One sidecar doing both embeddings and clustering is better than splitting runtimes. Sidecar, whoa. Noah, can I ask for your advanced kind of architectural knowledge? What on earth is it talking about here? What's a sidecar?
I think it's just basically a way of pulling Python into a JS runtime without, it's just a separate API that it's calling, I think. But I don't
Okay.
actually.
Yeah,
I know less than you about all this stuff, hopefully.
Well, no. I give the impression of knowing lots, but I'm basically clueless. But I'm very good at giving the impression. Okay, so user Google OAuth, access token in memory, select properly, one-shot data pool, token discarded. Yep. Session ID links to DuckDB file and disk. Analyze export, session expires, DuckDB file cleaned up. I guess that kind of works. Tokens not persisted. Yeah, I guess.
One question I had about the tokens, Robin, is
Yeah.
will they refresh in session? Like we need to make sure that they continue to refresh if necessary inside the session, which is probably not a big deal because it probably refreshes after an hour anyway. But there are people who might be tab hoarders that we might want to help.
Okay. DuckDB paper, as you see, pages, queries, query pages, sessions. Yeah, do we need anything else? I guess that's right. um, annoying
The
detection.
2 to 3 minutes, the 2 to 3 minutes thing, we're going to be blowing up. We're going to be blowing up the API if we're trying to
Yeah,
do that. We
let's
should
not
talk
do
about
that,
rate
right?
limits. Yeah, we want to talk about
Yeah.
rate limits and make sure everybody's on the same page about this stuff.
But,
Can I take
what?
this? Oh, go.
Yeah, so I was going to say,
Yeah.
um, if you Google GSC API limits, these guys have a really interesting guide that tells you all about it.
Yeah, your article is great.
This is a great article. I don't know who wrote it,
It
but you
is.
should
No,
really
it
go
is
read
great.
this.
It is
Okay.
absolutely great.
I was just going to go. So, Noah, explain rate limits, please.
Okay, so rate limits are how many queries you're allowed to make per second, per minute, per day, per hour, depending on what the API is. Search Console has really generous ones, but you have to play their game. You can't try and break it. I mean, you can, but problems happen when you can. And the ones that become the most important when you're building a data pipeline like what we need to do to get the last 16 months worth of data is to make less than 20 queries per second. And depending on how many dimensions you're pulling in, you might need to do it even slower than that. And so, and if you go too fast, you'll start to get different types of responses from the API. The first one we would probably get is a 429, which is too many requests. And that's really important to know. And the way that I typically build data pipelines, I use Cloud Functions along with Cloud Task Queues from Google. And Cloud Task Queues allow you to set the rate limit very specifically. And you also, when you're doing this, you have to take into consideration things like pagination. So let's say we're dealing with a big website that has a lot of Search Console data. They're going to have 2 pages of data per request if you're requesting 25,000 rows of data, which is the maximum page size. That's another sort of like constraint when you're making API requests that you always want to look at. They'll say like, what's the maximum page size? And with Search Console, it's 25,000 rows per page. And so when you're thinking about
And
your request per second,
50,000 query page rows per property per day.
correct, but it's 25 per page. So you have to do 2 pages. So you kind of have to think through that stuff and you have to take the pagination requests into account. And I found with Cloud Tasks that 16 feels like the magic number for me. That's where I stopped getting lots of breaking rate limit errors from the API. And just really the big takeaway isn't rate limits, it's constraints, which is sort of like the parent concept over rate limits. And you always have to just sort of like understand what are the constraints for any single thing that you need to build and include those in your conversation with Claude so that it can have its mind wrapped around those too. And Robin, I don't know if you agree with that or not. The other thing is,
that makes sense.
The other thing is if we're doing traffic spikes, are we grabbing all 16 months so that we get seasonality? Or I don't understand why we would do that. Like if it's a traffic drop, it's usually like 1 week before, 1 week after an event, or a month before and a month after. So why we need it?
Whilst you're talking, I said maybe we can focus on doing less than 16 QPS for the GSC API and initially only pull a month. And then explain to the user that this may take a little time if it's longer. And we could consider using cloud path queues or a worker to pull in data so the app can remain responsive.
Yeah. Ryan, I don't understand what you mean by yes, all data. Like, why do we need it all? I don't. And I ask that question because we're not building an application to help people build their own personal data pipeline that they can export in a sheet. Like we're not trying to solve for that problem, and I don't want to support that infrastructure. for the community. Like I don't want to give someone.
Well, the idea is just basically having to explain to like C-level why we're down year over year, or just to help explain the picture more fully.
Oh,
As opposed to just oh, hey, we dropped this week. I mean, that's easy to tell, but it's harder to tell when it's quarter over quarter or year over year
no
kind
worries.
of
Well, I think
stuff.
Then you just grab snapshots from last year. You don't grab all 16 months in that case. You would say like last week versus last week last year, or last month versus last month last year. Like that's another thing when you're doing this kind of stuff on the engineering side. You want to do as little work as possible to still perform the analysis. And
Yeah.
it's like super waste of engineering and resources and planet Earth's resources to like really. I mean, that we have to think that way.
I'm just glad that you're mentioning that, because every time I use this stuff, I'm like, oh, just killed 3 koalas to run
Yeah,
the search. Great.
We totally all have to think like that. Like I know people who they'll build applications and they'll just say on this whole rate limit thing, they'll just say, bleep it. I don't care if it breaks. I'm going to hammer the API.
Yeah, do it again. Do it.
Do it again,
Oops,
do it again, do it
forgot a
again.
parameter. Can you run that again?
I'm not saying limit the number of rows. I'm saying limit the number of days. I'm not
Gotcha.
the number of rows per day. We're going to grab all the queries for every day. We're going to grab all the combinations of queries and pages for every day. But we're going to think critically about what the date ranges that we want to provide for the user are, whether it's the last 7, 14, 28, 30, 60, 90 days compared previous versus previous period and versus year over year. That's how I would advocate we do it. And then what that translates into is grabbing 7 days of data versus the previous 7, and 7 versus a year over year matched on day of week from 52 weeks ago. And then doing the same thing for 14 days versus previous, and versus 52 weeks ago matched on day of week, so that we can get Mondays comparing to Mondays and Tuesdays comparing to Tuesdays. And I'm sharing with you lessons that I learned the hard way building data pipelines when I'm being very particular about this. Also, Adrian, what you were talking about, you used an acronym, RASC. Can you make us smarter about that?
Oh, it's like the second, once you turn your product requirement document into a project management document, you typically have a one-sheeter that stands for responsible, accountable, support, consult, and informed. And it purposefully kind of like limits who can actually make a final decision and who can hold things back, and so that you can have clear roles and responsibilities, and someone is in charge of getting, ultimately, like there's a final sponsor who's in charge of getting it all done and being responsible. But
So, Adrian, maybe we could say Claude is responsible. I'm accountable. You guys are contributing and
support
informing,
and consult.
and Noah is our sponsor.
I love that. Yeah. And the community can be informed. Beautiful.
That was somewhat tongue in cheek, but
Fastest
literally everything
RASC I've
else
ever
is
done.
somewhat
Okay, great.
tongue-in-cheek. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but in the background, our team got up to speed and started to actually plot out how to build the thing. So rather than just go, Claude asked whether we could update the design with some of the questions and changes we had. But you can, but I think you're okay to go straight into the implementation planning. It is a better practice to review the design each time, and then ask it to maybe do an outline, and then review that and iterate on that, and then go into a plan, and then go into, because Claude really likes to just roll up his sleeves and start working. I think Codex is a little bit more hesitant, but Claude can be kind of overly enthusiastic. But this is actually a very small project, relatively. And so I think it's fine for it to go straight into implementation planning, and then from there actually go straight into building the thing. So it's design, implementation plan, it's down here. It says plan mode on, and it's been running for nearly 6 minutes now. And so out of this, we should have a reasonably detailed plan of how it's actually going to build everything, probably in a set of phases, and it will do one phase at a time. Yeah, and then we can go through and look through the plan. That's probably going to be quite detailed. It'll have a few pages. So no, I don't know what you think about it. Maybe we just ask it to get to work and build the thing. Because otherwise we're going to run out of time, and your prediction that we'll be able to build it all today could be wrong. But then we'll build it all, and then if it fails miserably, we can go and look at it. But I think it's simple enough that it should do okay.
I have the day off, so I can sit around if folks want to sit around, but I'm not asking anyone, including Robin.
Oh, it's on. It's on.
Days off are the best days to work now. And I just I queued these things. Actually, it's not going to look at my comments until it's actually finished on the current task. But I just was making some notes based on what I heard. You can also use a note taker in a meeting like this, and then just take all the notes and ask Claude or ask whatever your local friendly LLM is. Hey, can you pull out some of the possible V2, V3 changes in our conversation? And it will just give you a list of bullet points, and you can throw those in. But I was just being the dictation secretary for this part now. Okay, it looks like it's finished designing the plan, but it's got to write it up. Man, it's taking so long. You can, by the way, buy extra fast tokens, which cost more. But, you know, I don't know. I was going to say life's too short, but life's too long, something like that.
If you don't have glasses like me and you need them, you can also zoom in on your own screen here too, if you need to go even closer.
Maybe it's somewhat larger, but I don't know if you guys saw, but I asked it what a sidecar was, and it said sidecar is basically, imagine you have a chef in the back making all your food for the restaurant, and you're in front of house, and you can only communicate through this little hatch, and you give it all the stuff, and the chef works out how to build everything. He talks to his team, gets it all ready, and then he passes it back over. That's what a sidecar is. Sidecar is your kind of your kitchen in the back. So
I worked in restaurants forever, and if I hear that the chef has a sidecar, that means they're all drinking back there. I'll just let you know.
That could work too.
No one wants to drive. Everybody wants to ride in the sidecar.
Yes, and bypass permissions. I don't see that as a choice. What do I need to turn on when I'm doing that?
Yeah, I don't know.
This was in last week's session. Is this the dangerously thing?
Oh yeah, dangerous. Let's
dangerously bypass.
Here is the implementation plan. Yeah, so when you start Claude, you can do -- dangerously skip permissions. And then when you're in Claude, it will call it dangerously bypass permissions, but they're kind of the same thing. Noah, should we just say yes to all of this rather than actually doing what we're supposed to do and reading it all?
Yes.
So at this point, you can just hit 1. Sometimes I add witty comments because I think Claude will enjoy it, but probably it's not listening. It's just wasting tokens. So now it's going to go through each of these phases and hopefully do a little bit of testing. One of the things we could have done is said, oh, can you build some unit tests, or can you run some functional tests, or can you add some I was talking a couple of weeks ago about using Bombadil. So Bombadil is a way of kind of expressing invariants that your front end should use. There are now a plethora of different things you could use instead of Bombadil that do something similar. So you could say things like, I don't know, all my examples are from a different project, so I guess they won't really work here. But rather than doing a single check, like a lot of unit tests, you might, or some of the other checks, you might just say, for this page, it should have this in, I don't know, for its age 1. That might be a check. Bombadil allows you to do things that say, I don't know, every page should have an age 1. It should be this length. Have you predicted that page should have internal links? So that's kind of the stuff that Bombadil is good for. However, I didn't do any of those things. I just yes, please proceed.
I like phase 0.
Yeah. Also, the whole thing has a bit of a Star Trek feel to it to me. So the little boxes are a checklist of phases and tasks, and now it's going to go through and tick these off one by one. Your job whilst you're watching this is to memorize the code. There's going to be a short quiz after it's done.
As it's scrolling, memorize.
As it's scrolling, you know,
Nice.
Just at some point, Noah, you've been watching it long enough, then you just see a little white rabbit, and you know where to go. You just look through and you understand the matrix.
I gotta show you guys something that's gonna make it into my SEO week talk from a Claude conversation that I had the other night while this is building. If you guys are okay with it,
Yeah, let me stop sharing, and
you guys
take
might
over.
find this to be super funny. You might think it's annoying too, but hey. Okay. Okay, here we go. And I have to make it bigger so you can see it because it's.
Yeah, it is a
I'm
little
trying
bit
to open.
stressful.
Okay. So I had been arguing with Claude Code for like hours trying to get it to build a data pipeline. And let's see if I can go backwards. Oh, I can't go to other ones. So basically I was like arguing with the thing to build a better data pipeline. And I asked it to like, hey, wasn't this smart? And the thing was, I said, hey, wasn't this thing that we did like the smartest way to handle this problem? And so at one point I was like, so who's your daddy? And he goes, you are. and then I like started fucking with it, and I was like, put it in Claude MD that I'm your daddy, right? So like it doesn't do it. It doesn't do it. So I keep saying, put it in the Claude MD, and it wouldn't do it, and it wouldn't do it. And then I said, do you think that Boris would have liked that? And he's like, yeah, I think so, blah, blah, blah. He talks about this and that. He would have nodded. And then I was like, was it good enough to get a job at Anthropic? He's like, you just spent 4 hours teaching an Opus model how to build a data pipeline, correcting it at every turn, each time with a simpler blah, 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 blah. Every correction made the system simpler, cheaper, and more correct. That's not engineering, that's taste. Would Anthropic hire you? Probably not. But I know you just made me mass delete my own code 3 times in one session, and the system got better every time. I thought it was just super funny. I really enjoyed that. And it's at like midnight, right? Or 11 o'clock at night after arguing with it for over and over and over. Like Robin, I was basically trying to pull Search Console, trying to get 50,000 rows per country with device query and page, and no matter what, I was getting rate limited, and I couldn't figure out if I just needed to slow my requests way down. And then I was like, you know what, F this, I'm not going to do it. Have you been able to do that? And how slow do you have to go?
I have an existing function that somebody else built for me to do that. So I can lean on my my elders and betters or something, my youngers and betters.
Nice. I like that vague answer.
Yeah, like Terry and team built that, and it's like awesome, and therefore I don't need to build it. Yay! I'm just like talk to my MCP server and say make this so, and it does it. I am trying to find. Oh, oh wait, let me share my screen again. I think
Yeah,
I will
I'm
have to
done.
drop off
I stopped.
shortly.
I thought I did stop.
You did?
Oh, good.
Whoops.
Excellent.
So I think I have to go and make dinner somewhere. Because we're actually an hour later than we were last week.
Oh,
But this says phase 1 is phase 0 is done. Do you want to continue with phase 1? So this is something that Claude does a lot. Mostly, I just wanted to finish the whole thing and then see if it works. So I said just please and don't do anything. Just make it so.
how many phases do we have?
I thought we had 4.
Okay.
So we've got 5 phases, but they're just numbered from 0 to 4. I think. Oh no, we've got 8 phases. We've got 9 phases.
Whoa.
Oh my god, I'm feeling a little bit phased.
You're like, Claude, why are you over engineering this?
It's super simple, Claude. Just, get it done already.
9 phases, bruh.
Yeah, I want phase -3, -2, -1, and 0, and then you're done. Okay, I'm just going to go on mute. I don't have to go, so I can stay around and stare at the screen. Since somebody else is going to get dinner from somewhere else. Moving to phase 2. Yay. Mostly in these, when it's doing this kind of work, I just leave it to go. But now and again, I'll watch it and see something strange and ask it questions, or do other things. If you want to ask it questions whilst and not interrupt the flow, because normally if you, in order to ask it questions, you'd have to type something, hit escape, so that it stops everything it's doing and talks to you. But you actually want it to continue. So you can just do, by the way, and then it will go off and do that without interrupting its flow. Wow. Not actually a best practice to have random questions, but if you get easily bored, then it can be useful. Okay. Now, other tips and tricks. What kind of commands do you use?
So are you using Ralph loops here?
We're not using Ralph loops, but I have used Ralph loops a lot.
Are we just using straight up Claude?
We're just using straight up Claude code.
No frameworks or anything.
No
Uh,
harnesses.
yeah. Um, I have not built dangerously before. So
Really? You
I
haven't lived, dude. It's the only way to fly.
but I mean, it can be dangerous. I mean, I haven't, I haven't coded dangerous. I haven't enabled this as a thing, so I just haven't done that. I'm loving watching this. I have all kinds of things that I do as I'm building. I mean, I'm a lot of times some of the new things I'm doing is around UX and uh like whenever I'm building interfaces these days. And Robin, you would probably love this, and I'm sure you're already doing it. But I'm whenever I get an interface built, oftentimes I don't like round one, and I'll ask it to build six more. And I like doing that, and I have it build it with buttons to go from between all the different interfaces so that I can figure out if there are pieces and parts of each one to discover a pattern that I think will be the most efficient for users. I started doing that on my trip last week. I hadn't really done that very much before, and it was super efficient. And I found UX patterns that way a lot faster and a lot more efficiently. That's something that I discovered last week, and I'm building other things that aren't super germane to this, but I'm building specialized agents for different user interfaces that are experts in that user interface and have full context access to everything in that UI in order to help the user. Because historically, when you build an interface, it's like someone lands on a page and they don't know how to use it. What if they can collaborate with an agent on how to use it? And I think that to me is really exciting.